Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Maine Outdoor Enthusiast Podcast. So I guess we're going to add a podcast to the mix.
Yeah.
Basically, going to give us another layer of content to add, a little more raw, talk about hunting, fishing, all that good stuff, hiking, camping, all the stuff we like to do. Just another avenue to throw content up, maybe throw it on some different platforms. Once we build a library, we'll start with YouTube, do some video podcasts, stuff like that. And then maybe throw it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, stuff like that.
Yeah.
If things go as planned. Kind of just winging it, flying by the seat of our pants right now. But originally when I started the YouTube channel, didn't really have any intents on doing a podcast. Seems like everyone's doing a podcast nowadays. But as time has progressed, there's definitely a need for it. People ask questions, want to know about different things. And it's kind of hard to always incorporate that into a video.
Yeah.
Plus you had to edit that stuff and go through that whole process. So something that's a little raw, and uncut.
I can be raw.
Would be, I
can be pretty raw, so.
That doesn't need any editing. So I guess just to give an intro who we are, I'm Paul.
I'm Mark.
And he's my father.
Yeah.
I'm your son.
You're my son.
Started a YouTube channel.
That's what the DNA test said
right.
anyway, Paul.
That's right. Yeah. You didn't jump the fence. Your mom didn't. I started a YouTube channel, just over a year ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been maybe a year and a half, Paul. It was before deer season, wasn't it?
It was a year, November 1st.
Yeah. So getting close to a year and a half.
The idea behind that was, we like the outdoors. We like, again, hunting, fishing, hiking, all that good stuff. Like consuming that content. Kind of feel that there's less and less people doing it nowadays. And kind of just wanted to add to that. Yeah. How we do it, why we do it. Not really into how-to videos, stuff like that. Kind of everyone has their own nuances on how they hunt or fish. And especially Maine has its own unique methods of hunting.
Yeah.
In particular.
Yeah.
So, kind of wanted to throw stuff like that out there. Kind of have fun with it. You were always recording.
Yeah, I like to go back and look at them. I still do.
So figured, hey, why not share it with everyone?
Yeah. I know that's probably one of my biggest hobbies is to watch hunting and fishing channels on YouTube.
Well, you can learn a lot.
I just enjoy it. I just enjoy watching them.
Yeah. And even like indirectly, someone may not literally be teaching you something, but they do something. Yeah. And you're like, I never thought of doing that. Yeah. I never thought of trying that. But plus they're entertaining.
To me they are. That's my entertainment.
Yeah, so. And hunting in particular is something that I feel is kind of being pushed to the wayside, and so I guess just anything to kind of promote that is good. And when we originally started the channel, kind of felt that, kind of struggled or fought with, do you do just hunting, just fishing? Because I know they say you got to niche down. All that happy horse.
Yeah.
But I figured there's a lot of guys like me who like to hunt and fish, right?
Right.
Like, that are excited about both, passionate about both. And, I get just as excited for fishing season as I do for hunting season. Fishing season is a little more drawn out.
Yeah.
So I feel with hunting, the excitement's a little more urgent.
You got to make hay when the sun shines. You got a limited time, and especially with your life,
particularly,
you don't have many days you can hunt.
Particularly in November, I like to rifle hunt for deer.
Yeah,
we've got 4 weeks that we can do it.
Yeah,
so there's definitely a sense of urgency.
Yeah,
and if a person in Maine has no vacation time, you can't hunt on Sunday in Maine.
No,
so you're limited to maybe 4 days.
Maybe 4 days
a season.
Yeah.
Which is not enough.
No.
And it goes by like that.
Yeah.
So I figured, there's a lot of people like myself, I got to assume, that love to both hunt and fish and do outdoor activities. So I kind of grouped the whole thing together. Might be a little broad, but if you don't like fishing, ignore that part. If you don't like hunting, ignore that part. So yeah, we're gonna jump into the podcast arena and have fun with that.
Yeah.
So it'll be in addition to our videos. I kind of have a routine with posting videos. I've never specifically said I'm gonna post a video on this day every week. I don't want to put myself in that box.
Yeah.
Life gets busy.
Boy. Yeah, and you don't want to do it. And, you know, most of the channels...
You don't want to put yourself in that.
No, most of the channels, Paul, sometimes they go for a long period of time before they... between videos. They do.
Yeah. But consistency is important to me. With
you got to keep your audience or whatever.
And also, it fits the way I have it structured right now. It fits well with my work and life routine. So keep with that. Podcasts will be an addition, just kind of throw in to address other issues.
And of course, you're in it for the money.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, the bucks.
Yeah. Rolling in the dough. Yeah. Actually, I do it because it's actually become so much fun. And oddly enough, I like boring stuff. And it's become a blast.
Well, that would be me.
It's become a blast.
That would be me.
Editing videos.
Yeah.
I just like editing videos and kind of getting in. You can get down some wicked rabbit holes.
Yeah.
I like learning new stuff too. And so I've kind of made it my goal. When I do a video, I really don't think about, and maybe I should, but I don't think about like, how many views can I get with this, or how many subscribers. I want to learn new things. And I've kind of made it my goal with every video is I got to learn at least two new things with every video. Whether it's editing stuff or like tech stuff with cameras and stuff like that, angles or different types of shots so I kind of wanted to grow in that area. So I guess I'm not always thinking about, like I want stuff to be interesting.
Right.
But I want to learn.
It's
I want to learn
always,
some stuff. And I kind of feel like if you just try to improve yourself and do higher quality stuff along the way, eventually all the other stuff will fall into place. But the money part of it is,
and you're not going to beg for subscribers and stuff. And it's rewarding if people do like, that you get people watching and stuff. But that can also be maybe sometimes disappointing too, I think. But
you can't get too worried about it.
No.
I thought,
we don't live with a thumbs up and a thumbs down, so.
No. But no, it's been a blast doing it. So I figured we'd add some podcast like stuff to it. Like I said, didn't think I would be jumping into that arena, but
and dragging me with you.
Yeah, you didn't even know today.
No, I
told Dad, said, hey, want to come out? It was a couple of days ago. I told Dad, I want to come out in the morning and do a video. Yeah. So he shows up ready to build a cedar strip canoe.
I got long end. I envisioned being in the garage without heat, and it's 33 degrees right now. And so I put on long underwear and I thought, well, I'll be dressed. I'll be somewhat warm anyway. Yeah. And I had envisioned
success.
And I'm in my mind. We're cutting out forms for staging for the canoe.
So he gets here and hey, we're doing a podcast.
We're doing a podcast. Yeah.
What the heck, a podcast?
Yeah.
So So we'll jump right in. I guess we're gonna start with some fishing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, ice out fishing.
Ice out fishing.
Yeah, one of my favorite things. One of my all-time. I've been doing it since I was 4 or 5 years old, sitting in a boat in early May. So a lot of good memories.
Yeah,
a lot of good memories.
With your father.
With my dad and my brother. Yeah, trolling tandem streamers on the surface in the Fish River chain of lakes there. Yeah.
So we'll start with that.
Today, you were mentioning today's the very first day of April 1st, first day of open water fishing here.
So April 1st.
Yeah. Only on the calendar is it
open water fishing,
or the law book is it open water fishing. I don't think there's going to be many people out there today.
So ice out fishing's always been a big part of our life, more so yours than mine. So, I guess we'll back up to my grandfather, your father. Yeah. Loved to ice out fish.
That was the one thing. He did a little bit of hunting. He did some fishing. But 90% of his fishing, or maybe more, was when, a week or two after the ice went out up in the Fish River chain of lakes, trolling for salmon and trout. He only wanted to take them on the surface with floats. That was the only way that he felt that you should fish for salmon and trout. So once they went deep, when the water warmed up, he was done fishing.
So just to give a brief overview of what we call ice out fishing, basically right when the ice goes out, we start trolling for salmon and trout.
Yeah.
And you mentioned we predominantly fish the Fish River chain lakes,
right?
Which is long, mud, cross, square, and eagle lake, right?
Yeah.
Mostly salmon and trout. Which the salmon numbers, at least at our home lake, which is Mud Lake, which is where our camp is at, the salmon numbers have fallen the past few years.
It's nothing like it was 30 years ago. And now you can go out on the lake, you can spend days after the ice goes out on the lake and maybe see one or two other boats in that time. And I can remember as a young boy that it was nothing to see a dozen boats on the lake when the ice went out. And you caught a lot of salmon. You caught trout too, but you get a lot of salmon. Now you get mostly trout, and even that, with the introduction of white perch a few years ago, the trout fishing
that's something we'll talk about in a minute with the perch.
It has hurt the trout fishing there, and I don't know where that's all going to shake out, what's going to happen with that. So it used to be, like, I remember when I was a kid, we used to catch a lot of salmon. Yeah, we did.
And now in the lake that we fish most of the time is shallow.
Yeah.
So nothing there during the summer.
20 feet deep. So they're
residual.
They were transitory fish, that maybe had come down into the thoroughfares to spawn and then spent the winter in the lake. And as soon around Memorial Day weekend, when the water started warming up, they would migrate out up to Long or down to Cross.
So I guess one hypothesis that I guess we've talked about on why the salmon fishing's become poorer is the fact that fall time there's less native salmon coming over to spawn.
Yeah.
Possibly from the stocking program of salmon that's going on in some of the other lakes, which they don't spawn over into our lake. Because typically, because fall time, you can have some good salmon fish.
Used to be there again.
And there's not many fish coming to spawn.
No, I'm about the only person that 30 years ago you would go down in the thoroughfare.
They used to be lined up.
It used to be shoulder to shoulder. It was combat fishing. It used to be shoulder to shoulder in the end of September. And when water conditions were right, when it was high and cold. And now I'm pretty much the only person left to fish there.
And you still catch a few.
Yeah, some years, and there again, it depends on water conditions. If the water's high and cold, the fish might be there, and if it's low and warm, they don't come in until October after the season's over.
Yeah, there was one fall where there was hardly any water.
Yeah, we've had a few falls like that. And everybody talks about that in other podcasts and stuff that we. Fall or winter is pushed later, later out. We have warmer, lower water later into the season than we did 40 or 50 years ago. So that affects that fishing quite a bit.
Yeah, well, too bad spring wouldn't come a little bit sooner.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't seem like spring is.
No.
The ice always seems to go out up there in the first week of May. Always seems
just like clockwork.
Just like clockwork.
It's amazing how things kind of always balance out.
Yeah.
Come springtime.
Yeah.
I think the earliest we've been fishing was April 25th. 26th.
There was
maybe actually a couple of years ago it was.
There was a few years ago. The ice went out like the middle of April. We had a really warm spring, and the ice went out early. We were fishing the middle of April up there.
Yeah.
So
you made another point that could change the fisheries, the fact that there's been the introduction of white perch into the Fish River chain lakes.
Yeah.
And what was it, 3 Was it 3 years ago?
Well, I first saw one. I think it was 2 years ago. Be 3 years ago. It was funny. We had a friend up there. We were trolling, and he caught a fish, and he reeled it in, and he said, "Oh, a white perch," and he threw it back, and I'm thinking,
"There's no white perch in here."
That was a white perch, and so I kind of looked it up, and because I'd never seen one before, and sure enough, it was a white perch. So then I went out and tried to catch, and it was easy to catch. Those lots of them in the lake.
That was 3 years ago?
I think it was 3 years ago.
And
it wasn't. No, it was two. It wasn't last summer. It was the summer before.
Okay,
I think
2 years ago. And then
and I don't know where they came from. I got a hold of the biologist, and he had told me the lakes they were in. They were pretty much in all the lakes. And I'm assuming maybe ice fishermen threw a bucket. I don't know, but there's lots of them now for sure.
So I think he had said 3 years. It was 3 years prior to you catching that they first had got reports that there was white perch in the fisheries.
Yeah.
So it looks like according to them, it won't affect really the salmon fishery. More the brook trout.
Yeah, they were more concerned that they were a fish that might compete with brook trout a lot more than, certainly not togue. Togue is a deep water fish, but the brook trout they would compete with the brook trout, and certainly outcompete a brook trout. So
they reproduce like crazy.
Yeah, 300,000 I think it said for a 1 pound female, where a 1 pound female brook trout is about 300 eggs.
All
so.
Right.
It doesn't take long for them to overwhelm a fishery.
They're a springtime spawner, right?
I believe they are,
I think
Paul.
so,
yeah,
I think
maybe early June or something. I'm not sure,
yeah.
but I think that you're right. That would be springtime anyway. I'm quite sure they are a springtime spawner. So
because last spring fishing, going into the thoroughfare, there was white perch. Driving in, you can see the backs of them everywhere.
We actually caught some in I think going up the thoroughfare in Square Lake. So so we'll see how it all affects. Time will tell.
Yeah, with stuff like that, you never know how it will pan out.
Yeah,
there's so many. Yeah, there's so many factors involved.
There are, but.
Because if you think back to the days of even when they started stocking programs in the state, because remember Rangeley Lakes region used to have huge brook trout.
Yeah, right.
They got large off the blueback.
The Arctic char and stuff, and when the introduction of salmon.
So great idea. It'd be a great watershed to throw in some salmon because they would.
Yeah, sometimes we
flourish.
Sometimes we do things and we don't understand the long-term effects of.
It's hard to see
in the future
down the road to see exactly because you never know. How many things it's actually going to affect. So it ended up they decimated the blueback population. Yeah, and essentially
the big brook trout
didn't destroy the brook trout fishery, but
the big ones are gone.
You sacrificed the good. Yeah, they cost some huge
double digit. The Rangeley area was known for double-digit brook trout.
So you never know what's going to happen. Of course, you live and learn. So now I think Maine is probably one of the best states as far as preserving native brook trout fisheries.
Yeah, we have.
They're very good about not stocking fish
on a native. They try
native
not
watersheds,
to,
which is phenomenal. I'll give them props on that because most states across the country they have no native populations anymore.
Yeah, we have by far the largest percentage of the population of any place in the country.
And I always took that for granted growing up.
Well, yeah, because you can go to any.
I thought everyone
you can go anywhere here within any stream that's within a mile of your house or whatever. They all have brook trout, and that's the way it is all across here in Aroostook County.
And catch native
brook trout.
They're not.
Yeah.
The first time that I guess it really opened my eyes to it was I was in Maryland for training, and I remember I had you guys ship out my fly rod.
Yeah.
because there was some good streams to fish in Maryland. And I remember going through the law books, and there was all kinds of watersheds that were put and take.
Yeah.
So they get so warm, I guess, come midsummer and shallow. They lose so much water that the fish won't survive the entire year. They put a bunch of fish in there to go catch.
Right.
And I was like, it's almost like fishing at a farm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all kinds that were just put and take. They stock them and you go catch them.
And like you say, they don't mind you keeping them because the survival rate is they're not going to survive, and it's there for a sport. They're providing a sport fishery for the anglers and stuff, and that even happens in Maine too. You know, there's places that they stock fish with the idea you're going to take them out. You know, that it's not going to be a self-sustaining fishery. So
yeah.
Especially,
what was it? Didn't they accidentally stock a place?
They've done that a number of times.
And they basically are like any salmon you catch.
Right. That was up in DeBully.
Oh, was it?
That was in DeBully. Yeah. They dropped some salmon in
which
DeBully,
has bluebacks.
Which has blueback, and that actually happened in DeBully. Now, whether and of course I don't have my finger on that pulse, but I don't know if they've caught any out of there, you know, recently, or you know, if they pretty much just died off. There wasn't enough in there to, I don't know. I haven't heard anything on that.
How did it happen?
I knew the story at one time, but I cannot remember. I don't know. I don't know how I know they stock, or I'm pretty sure they stocked Toad Pond up there. So whether that somehow got mixed up, I don't know. I knew I heard the story at one time, but it's been quite a few years, and I wouldn't dare say. So
that was a big no-no.
It happens.
Yeah.
That's the problem, you know. Just like the white perch, you know, mistakes happen, things happen.
I don't know if that was a mistake.
And you're right. That somebody may.
I suspect someone was, because again, people get an idea that I like catching white perch.
Yeah.
Let's throw some white perch in there, and don't really understand the ramifications that can come from.
And they did that a lot with smallmouth bass, which aren't native, I believe, to Maine, even anywhere in Maine. And now they're one of the great fisheries in Maine, and they're everywhere. And like the white perch, they outcompete, you know, the native fish, the salmon and trout. Yeah. And they're once they get in there, they're hard to get out, and they do well. They thrive in our waterways. So
and I guess a watershed like that, you don't want to reclaim the whole thing, which they do with smaller bodies of water. Yeah, they'll chemically reclaim let's say if it's a pond. Yeah, I mean, because I did this one summer with one of the biologists. They chemically reclaimed a pond. Some fish were introduced. Some bait fish of some sorts were introduced into this pond. Overtook the pond, was hurting the brook trout fishery. Yeah. And so they chemically reclaimed it. Yeah. And then got rid of everything. Basically started with a clean slate, stocked it with some trout. That is extremely,
it's a difficult process, a costly process, and you don't know if it's going to be successful or not, because you got to literally get everything out of there, which can be very difficult when you're talking tributaries. And one of the big projects they had that most people know about is Big Reed Pond with the blueback and taking the smelt out of there, and that was a major undertaking. As far as I know, it was successful, but it was
that's one place we want to visit. Yeah, which we haven't made it into. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that pond that we chemically reclaimed, that was an interesting thing, because now I go back and I catch fish there. Yeah. And I think, I played a role, and I think we put 2,000 brook trout in the pond, and then
was that local here?
No, that was up in the North Maine woods.
Okay.
So 2,000 brook trout in the pond, and then 500 fry up the stream. Yeah. And as far as I know, I haven't been back there fishing in a while, but it was successful. Yeah. I don't know, and that would have been 20 years ago? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was in my early 20s. Yeah. Late teens when we did it. Yeah. That was pretty cool. That was a lot of fun. So the other concern with the Fish River Chain Lakes region is if muskie get in there.
Yeah.
I was just talking to someone about that the other day.
Yeah.
So basically, they just have what, Fish River Falls to get past.
The muskie, of course, is all through the St. John River watershed, and of course our lakes are connected to that through the Fish River, and the only thing that has stopped them is the Fish River Falls there in Fort Kent.
And it's almost a matter of time before you
yeah.
have high water of some sort.
They say that's the danger in the springtime when there's high water. They can kind of circumvent the falls, maybe go around into the woods through high water, and
And wouldn't they have a field day?
They would
With all the yellow perch.
Yeah, just like they did in the St. John River with all the fall fish and stuff. There's unlimited, almost unlimited feed for them with all the chub, and especially in our lake. There's a lot of yellow perch and chub, and of course white perch now.
You scared the heck out of me one time. You sent me a picture. I was at work. You were up at the camp fishing, and you took a drive over to the St. John.
Yes,
because you wanted to catch a muskie on a fly rod.
Yeah.
And you send me a picture of the great big muskie.
Yeah. First time I'd ever muskie
standing out in front of the camp, and I'm like, please tell me you did not catch that out in the lake.
Yeah. No, I caught that.
My heart sunk.
Right at the mouth of the Fish River, though, in Fort Kent, I caught it.
That would have been bad.
And I caught it on a fly rod, but I was trolling a Rapala. But I had monofilament. I think I had 12-pound test monofilament, and I didn't think I'd land the fish.
You didn't catch it on a fly rod?
No, I caught it on a fly rod.
But you weren't, okay.
But I wasn't fly fishing. I was trolling a Rapala.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that brings me to, our trolling setup. What do we use? I've had a few people ask, what we use to troll with.
Yeah.
It's nothing novel.
No, it's been going on. It's very much
pretty,
a tradition in Maine, the way we do it, and that's why we do it. It's traditional.
Yep. I use a sink tip, fairly heavy rod, 8-weight fly rod, but sometimes lighter tackle. I think I used to use a 5-weight.
Yeah.
Sink tip fly line.
Yeah.
We use a level leader for that.
20-foot, 12-pound test level leader.
Fluorocarbon.
I use fluorocarbon.
Yeah. And a tandem streamer.
Yeah. I use a 2 tandem streamer, right? I have a front fly and a dropper. I use 2 tandems. And of course, we're right on top. The water's cold. The ice has just gone out. We tend to target in front of the brooks. The smelter running at that time, 1st of May, the smelter running, and the salmon and trout are in there chasing them. So,
and it can be really hit or miss.
It can be.
You can have an hour or two.
Yeah.
You catch all kinds of fish, and then it just like a light switch.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah. You can go out one day and do really well, and you can go out the next day and not get a strike. You just that's happened to me quite often.
And that's the benefits of being retired.
Yeah,
is you can consistently go.
Yeah.
And then you hit those days. Because there's so many times that I go.
Right. Your time is limited. And I don't know how my time is going to be this year. I get jury duty, so my jury duty extends.
Couldn't get out of that?
No, I've already got. No.
You couldn't come up with some excuse?
No, I don't have an excuse. Not a good one anyway. I don't think ice out fishing, the judge would accept that excuse.
You're pregnant.
Yeah. No, that's so we'll see how that works out. I don't want to push the panic button right yet, but I am jury duty for me goes from April into May through May. So
that sucks. I might be fishing more than you.
Yeah. Maybe
just leave the keys in your boat.
Maybe. Oh, absolutely.
Keep it full of gas.
Yeah. Yeah. That won't be a problem.
But yeah, you can tell when the fishing's hot at some of those places. The boat landing will be full of.
Yeah, word gets around.
Yeah,
that's quick. Fishermen talk and stuff. So if the fish are biting one day, you can expect to see the boat landings full of vehicles the next day. You can usually tell. But you know what?
Usually it's a day late and $1 short with that scenario. Though. Yeah. By the time word gets to you, it's like, well.
It may be too late. You should have been here yesterday. The old adage that you should have been here yesterday. But you know what, Paul? There's days that I've gone out and a number of times, and there wasn't another vehicle in the parking lot, and I went out and had fantastic fishing. I can remember one day on Long Lake that same thing. I was the only guy out there, and I had fantastic fishing. You gotta just go, and then take what you get.
People don't really
no
do the stuff like they used to.
No, and it can be uncomfortable. You know, you go out the first of May. It can be cold.
I can remember.
Yeah.
Remember that time over? The ice was freezing on my guides. It was windy.
Yeah.
Cold as heck.
Yeah.
And we came back to our home lake and went down in the corner, right where the wind was blowing.
Yeah.
I don't know why we ended up there. We made like 2 trips by or something, or just one, and there was debris and junk in the water everywhere.
Yeah.
And I caught a beautiful trout. I thought I was hooked on bottom at first. And you were like, there's no way you caught a trout because there's so much junk in the water. Yeah. There's no way that. And that was like a 5-pound brook trout.
That was a big brook trout. That was.
At first, like I said, I thought I was hooked on bottom.
Can you put a picture of that on there?
Yeah, well, if it's a podcast, no one will see it. But
yeah. Oh, okay.
Just envision a 5-pound brook trout. I'll put it on this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, just picture a 5-pound brook trout. But I thought it was hooked on bottom, and the wind was blowing us real bad. So it was almost like we were being blown down the lake.
Yeah.
And line was stripping out, but there was no thumping or anything like that. And I remember you motored over to going towards where my line was, and then pretty soon my rod tip starts thumping up and down pretty good.
Throbbing, yeah.
I remember we got it in the boat.
Yeah, that was a big trout.
That was a nice trout.
Maybe for once in a lifetime. You hope not.
Yeah, no.
You hope not, but that that you don't get those trout very often, especially on. And
it wasn't very long. It was like 21 inches.
Yeah.
But it was fat.
Yeah.
It was a really fat brook trout. And Mom caught one.
About the same size.
I think yours was a little longer.
Yeah, she in the same area.
A little thinner, but it was
2010. I think she caught hers.
That was what, 5?
Well,
just shy of 5 pounds.
Yeah, it was just 4 3/4 officially, and that was on the,
on the
scales at the store.
Yeah.
So that was that was 4 3/4 pounds. So.
Yeah, so that the day I caught that big one, it was a miserable day, and it's one of those things where I think I mentioned it in another video that if I'm gonna go fishing, if I got plans to go, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
It doesn't really. Short of a thunder and lightning storm.
Yeah.
Which I've been there.
I have fished more times than I want to care to admit in the snow in May. There's been
you were
times.
pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
Especially when you were younger about ice out fishing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even go in for lunch.
No, I would sit all day.
Sandwich?
Eat right in the boat
I can remember when I was old enough to go.
Keep hammering.
Yeah. Cam Haynes.
Yeah.
I can remember when I was old enough to go, we'd be in the boat, and you'll probably argue with me about this, but we'd be in the boat for 4 or 5 hours, and they'd go, "Can we go in? I'm cold." "What do you mean go in? We just get out here."
Yeah. That's learned behavior. That my dad.
And I remember Graham saying to you, "Mark, you can't keep him out in the boat all that long. You can't."
Yeah, Dad did the same to my brother and I. We would be out there in some awful wind coming out of the northwest in early May and cold in an old, the boat really wasn't that.
Oh God, he had an old red.
Oh, it was an old square stern.
Oh my word, that
sponge we
barely sat above the water.
Yeah, it was set pretty low in the water there. Looking back there, I don't know. We took some chances.
Yeah, it's one of those lakes in particular.
And live to tell about it.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And people have died on it.
Yeah, a lot of people have drowned on it.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that lake things can change in a hurry.
Yeah.
Wind seems to blow right up it or down it or whatever.
The prevailing winds, of course, northwest, and those get a good sweep of all those lakes up there.
Yeah.
If you look at the lay of the lakes there, they're almost always pointed into the northwest, so the wind sweeps right down those lakes.
Well, we were on it one time, Dad had built this. It was a Grand Lake or Cedar Strip canoe, square stern.
Yeah.
Was it 20 feet, 21 feet?
About 20 feet, yeah.
And here we got a nice big boat sitting at the camp, and we're out in a canoe.
Yeah.
with a 6-horse motor.
6 horse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Motor.
3 of us in it because he wants to use his canoe, and the wind picked up on. That was bad.
And we come right across the middle of it.
We had to come across the middle of it.
Yeah. Square like.
And I said that day, I said, I'm never getting in that canoe again.
Yeah.
Spring
And
fishing.
I bought a bigger boat that, yeah.
Well, you had an aluminum boat sitting back
14
at the camp,
foot
but
with
still,
the 15 horse.
it
But I
would've
bought I bought a 16 and a half foot with the 40 horse, and yeah, I kind of knew what you were saying, that it was probably we pushed it there, and I did it a number of times. You weren't there, but with other people, and coming back, and
You're fine as long as you stay into the waves.
Yeah.
But if you got sideways in them,
yeah.
that probably would have been all she wrote.
And I always tell people the problem with me is I have no fear of the water or anything. I was raised on it. So, we've had the camp since I was 2 years old. And like I said, Dad would have us out in the boat at 4 or 5 fishing all day in some really poor conditions. So I didn't really respect the water like I should have.
Yeah.
So I had no fear of it.
Why was he such a hardened spring fisherman?
I don't know.
Because he didn't do it. He wasn't serious about deer hunting.
No, he would go
Didn't
deer
fly
hunting,
fish during the
and he would go
summer.
bird hunting, and he might go fishing a few times during the summer, and only then it was to take us. We were boys, and he wanted to get us out. If he was alone, he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't have gone out in the brooks or whatever, but he would do it to take us. And I don't know why he was so drawn to that. Maybe because when he bought the camp, that's what they did up there. The people that that was a traditional thing to do, and he did it, and he liked it, and he caught some big fish, which will keep you coming back. Will make you want to do it. You get a 28-inch salmon or whatever, and
stripping out line, jumping, and
that gets into your head, and it'll keep you coming back, and I think that's what it was.
I know we touched on gear just a minute ago, but we'll kind of go over some of the streamers we like to use.
Yeah.
Tend to be colorful.
Yeah.
Canon streamers we use.
Yeah. With me, Paul, to me, the very best streamers have yellow and red in it.
That seems to be
I love streamers. So off the top, right at the beginning, Mickey Finn is a very, very good streamer. Called an attractor pattern, that it really doesn't imitate any bait fish or anything. And then along with that is the Barn Special, which
that's what I use most of the time.
So if we're on the water, that's probably on our rod.
Yep. And your dropper that you use,
I usually try to do
a smelt imitation.
I try to do a smelt imitation for a dropper, but always I have a lot of faith in yellow and red. The colors yellow and red for trout and salmon. And
which I don't recall what knot you were using last year, but you hooked onto a big. I'm going to assume it's a salmon. We didn't see it.
Yeah, that was.
But it broke you off at it hit your dropper.
It took off. The minute
what were you using for a knot? Did you use a barrel knot or a blood knot that was just left long?
Yeah, where it separated was where I connected the dropper to the fly line.
Yeah,
and it separated there, and that's with a blood knot.
Blood knot.
Yeah, and
which that's how I do it. I'm not sure if anyone else. I'm not sure of any other techniques to.
A lot of what they do, I see in fly fishing, is they'll tie the dropper right onto the hook of the front fly.
Yeah, I guess if you're fishing, well, I guess I'll do that with nymphs.
Yeah,
you'll take like a parachute Adams,
right,
or something that's really easy to see.
Right.
Use that as your strike indicator.
Yeah.
And then have the nymph coming off that.
And they generally put it right off the bend of the hook there.
But I would suspect larger fish having that on the bend of a metal hook
really wouldn't grab. Yeah.
Would put undue stress on that.
Yeah.
That tippet material.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I've never
done it. I've never done it that way. So.
Plus, you're kind of off to the side with that dropper the way you do it.
Right.
Which can be kind of a mess when you catch a fish, though.
It can be. You want to keep it short. So.
Yeah. How long do you go? A couple feet? 3 feet?
For your dropper?
Yeah,
probably 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah, probably 4 or 5. And my theory with that is, you know, it appears, for one thing, you've got 2 bait fish going in the water, and one chasing. It looks like one's chasing the other, and fish are kind of if they think something else is chasing it, they'll. I don't know. They're more apt to try to get in there and take it.
Yeah.
If they think something else is going to get it, so
particularly fall fishing, when you go fishing for salmon that are spawning, they're not eating.
No.
They're not chasing your fly to have dinner.
Right.
They're chasing it out of aggression.
Right, territorial and stuff. Some people say they really don't know what aggression, or out of just their nature of eating flies as a young fish, you know, that they take it. But you're right. It's the exact same fishing as Atlantic salmon fishing, in which they always say they're not in there to eat. They don't eat when they're up to spawn. So,
I'm no Atlantic salmon fisherman, but
but they're the same fish. Biologically,
genetically,
they're
the same thing.
They're the same fish.
Yeah.
So
there's definitely more efficient ways to catch fish. Springtime. I mean, a lot of people will use a smelt.
Sewed smelt is very popular.
Probably one of the most efficient ways.
The salmon love smelt. I mean, they're tied to smelt like a bear is to beech nut. The salmon love smelt. And so anywhere that they usually stock salmon throughout the years, they had stocked smelt, which was a problem, like we were mentioning in the range lease.
So we did use some downriggers.
I've tried it. I've tried it.
Didn't really know what we were doing.
No, I make no claims about being an expert in that.
Or how your down. You didn't know how your downrigger worked.
No.
Figured it out. I think
I'm not.
We caught some fish on it.
We did. Yeah. I managed to.
I was making fun of you.
Dredge up.
So you caught a fish.
Yeah, dredge up a few with it there.
Yeah.
It can be a very effective way to fish if you know what you're doing, for sure. And the fish are there if you're in the right zone.
Find them at the right depth.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, last spring we had some good days to fish.
Yeah, we had good fishing.
Rated ice out.
Yeah.
It was. I remember the water temp was like 35 degrees or something. 36. It was cold, but it was like 80 degrees that day.
Yeah.
It was comfortable.
Yeah.
And the fishing was good to boot.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day, and
those two don't usually
don't line up.
You're either miserable.
Yeah.
And
my dad, I can remember as a kid, he always used to say that. Well, you have to suffer to catch fish and stuff.
We didn't that day.
Yeah. Maybe suffered with getting a little too much sun. Maybe.
Yeah, I know. About 3 o'clock, you were like, I gotta get off the water.
Yeah, it was intense.
Because it wasn't windy either.
No.
And a lot of spots on that lake were like glass. And that just reflects the.
Yeah.
I had people asking me though. They're like, "Oh my God, it was so hot when you were fishing. What are you doing wearing a jacket?" I'm like, "You don't get." The water's 35 degrees, 36 degrees.
Yeah.
That acts as like an air conditioner.
That's
you
one
get
thing.
a little breeze coming off that water.
Yeah, you're sitting on top of an iceberg, basically. Yeah.
It still was cool.
It is. That's transferring cold up out of that water big time. And that's one of the things I always laughed about. We could be sitting on the deck at the camp, southern exposure, and you could be in a t-shirt, and I'd say, tell somebody, hey, let's go out in the boat for a while fishing.
And they keep their t-shirt on.
I say, you better bring a winter jacket, because the minute you get out on that lake, it's a whole different world out there in May, which it is. Yeah. You want to be prepared. So, Another thing I do too, Paul, you were talking about a setup. I always put a second fly rod out in a rod holder with a Rapala on it.
Yep.
So that's
which sometimes that can be the only rod catching fish.
Rapala, really good lure to use. That's if
it looks fishy.
It acts fishy. It looks
like
and acts fishy in the water, and that's there again. That's all we used when I was 5-6 years old. That's what my dad used on a second rod. So, and we always had good luck on it. We always caught.
It's good for a kid to use. Doesn't have to do anything.
No,
just sit there and hold it. Throw it in a rod holder for him if he wants to.
Yeah, you don't even have to hold the rod. Just put it in a rod holder.
And so some days that rod is the only one that's catching fish,
Yeah.
which seems like the white perch we've caught have been on that.
Yeah, they seem to
That
like
wrong.
lures, although I have caught someone, but they seem to be a lure fish, the white perch.
Yeah.
And I think brook trout too. I seem to do a little salmon. I do well on streamers, but brook trout.
Those
they
those
like
attractor
the-
patterns that salmon seem
Yeah.
to really.
Yeah, the brook trout I seem to do. They like the Rapala. I use the gold one there again.
Yeah.
Like streamers, I use yellow and red, and my Rapala has some red on it where the mouth is, and it's a yellow color, a gold color. So that's the color scheme that I like to use.
And they do, and it's a solid Rapala.
Yeah,
It's not one of the articulated ones.
I'm trying to think of the size. I don't know if it's a 9F floating. But as you pull it through the water, it dives down a couple
How deep
feet.
do they go? Do you know?
Well, maybe 3 or 4 feet, the deepest.
They go a little deeper than.
They do, and that may be a reason why some days
Yeah.
you do well. You may do a little better than streamers if the fish are a little deeper. Those tend to fish a little deeper. So,
Yeah. What speed do we troll at?
I don't know the actual speed. Maybe 2,
Kind of go at
2.5.
just by feeling.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
I guess.
Yeah,
Well, see, a lot of things you do with like hunting and fishing, sometimes you don't even. You're just going from experience.
Yeah.
You don't really have
Yeah.
like a concrete number
Yeah.
or it's like you're just going
one of the
by your gut.
Yeah, one of the
things
old
that you've done in the past
one of the old
that were successful.
sayings or whatever in trolling, you fast for salmon and slower for trout. And if you were fishing for togue, they tend to go really slow
Okay.
with togue. But we've never fished for togue, so. But I know that they always said troll a little faster for salmon and maybe a little slower for trout, and in shallow water for brook trout, and maybe a little deeper for,
Yep.
as far as the depth of the lake, not necessarily how deep your lures are, but in close to shore for brook trout, shallow water. So
Yeah, which last year we were in 10 feet of water.
yeah,
That we were catching most of
catching everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
brook trout and salmon.
Yeah, that was a good day.
Yeah,
We had another day where we caught a lot of fish, but nothing very big.
was
We
a
were
little
catching
later-
a lot of
later in the
small-
season, and
small
we went to
salmon.
the same spot, and we caught quite a few fish, but they all ran a different size, smaller size. Where before we were consistently bigger, and it's funny how that can be. You wonder where the smaller ones were when you were catching
Yeah,
So, yeah,
that's fishing. Well, I think that about covers everything that.
yeah.
So yeah, like I said, we got a canoe build that we're going to start here pretty soon. So, which you thought was going to be today, but Mother Nature doesn't want to work with us. So, yeah, we're going to throw some podcasts in there in the mix with everything. So I guess you can listen to us rant, maybe a few lame jokes from us. If we get it up on some other platforms, you can listen to it in your car. Maybe at the very least get a laugh.
Yeah.
But listen to us go on and on and on. Get down some rabbit holes, but. Yeah, so we'll probably do another one. We'll probably do one a week, roughly. Not very hard to do. Sit down, and talk.
Yeah.
So
Whatever you want to do, Paul.
Yeah.
So.
all right. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you get something from it. And I guess until next time, get outside. It's good for the soul.
Amen.
See ya.